noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, let's get it, folks. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is a Wednesday, which means it's a Cougar preview show day. At 1 o'clock, we'll transition into BYU chat and do nothing but talk BYU football for those 2 hours. Coming up here in just a moment, though, we'll talk a little college hoops. We've talked to Kevin Young, we've talked to Jared Calhoun, and we'll hit the trifecta today as Alex Jensen, new coach of the University of Utah, will join us coming up here in just a moment. Hans, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm great.
What's new?
Nothing much.
Yeah, are you sure? What you got today at 3? Why don't you share with our listeners?
Moon River.
Every man.
Yeah.
In every man's life, there comes a time to check their health.
Ugh. All right, well, you know.
We're going to be calling you Colonel Scotty. Only spelled different.
Yeah.
Only spelled different.
I'm not looking forward to this.
Well, I wouldn't either.
I mean, you're in the demo. You're supposed to be doing this stuff, too.
Yeah, I just don't have I have zero history in the family, so they say I never need to get it, ever.
Oh, that's not true. That's not what they say.
Is that what they say? Because if that's
No.
the case, then I don't need to.
Well, then I'm canceling then. My doctor, my primary care physician, is a listener.
Yeah.
And one really good dude, really great guy, and he has been hounding me on this forever. He's like, "You got to do this," and I'm like, "Sure." And then 6 months later, he's like, "You didn't do it." And I'm like, "I know." He's like, "You're of the age, you got to do it."
Oh man.
I don't know if he's getting like little subsidies on the side from the from the group or something, but he's like,
no, these guys like to save people's lives. That's what happens. They're like, oh, we found something, we've got to remove it. We saved your life.
"We found a polyp."
Until Amanda trains to become a physician, I don't think I'm getting it done. And once my wife gets the certificate,
When she gets those 10 years of medical
maybe
med school under her belt.
Maybe. But even then, I don't know, man. That's a rough one. I've heard that the whole emptying process is the worst.
Yeah. And so if you look, I have to leave the show at 2 o'clock today, and you know how much I hate leaving shows.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I was supposed to take the whole day off, but I'm gonna work the whole first 2 hours
With maybe 2 or 3 minute intervals.
There might be some moments where I might need to depart for a second.
Oh man, that's funny. Well,
For you, maybe.
it's funny, but it's not, because I'm sure at some point I'm gonna have to go in and get checked.
I don't know, man. I just don't want to be the guy that has like the PSA where like, I had no history in my family, but when I went in for the appointment, they found something, and I just want all of us. Like, I don't want to be at Pioneer Park doing a walkathon because I'm a spokesman for
Polyps?
polyps or whatever. Yeah. Go cancer.
Oh, buddy. I laugh only because it's the only way to deal with something like this as we get older as men.
Getting old sucks.
It's not a date. It's just a couple of guys going out to support cancer.
Go cancer.
Yeah, it does. I was talking with a very popular college football coach here in the state this morning.
Yes.
And we were talking about us getting old. We're the same age. Well, he's slightly younger than me. And I was like, do you feel like your body fatigues fast? Because I was lifting this morning. My body is fatiguing fast. I'm not lifting as much weights. I was doing upright shoulder press, and I used to do that. I used to do that with 315, and I could put 315 on, and I could shoulder press it 8 times. without a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I would rep it. And so I think maybe my calculations are off because in my heyday I was benching 525, military press about 315. My squats were extremely, and now I'm like, I get shaky. And then I sit there and shake all day. And I'm like, so I was talking to this coach and he's like, yeah, it's worse for me. He's definitely feeling the age.
Wow. Yeah. Father Time's undefeated. All right, time to check in with the head coach of the University of Utah men's basketball team, Alex Jensen, good friend of the program, kind enough to hang out with us. Coach, how are you?
Hello, Coach.
I'm doing good. We won last night, so everything's a little bit better today.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing too. Is it sunk in yet? The Alex Jensen, head coach at the University of Utah. I mean, is it still feel a little weird to say?
Yeah, no, it does feel weird. You know, there's usually a memory or two that comes back every day I'm up here. Good and bad. I think I'm diving deep into the what the things that formed me when I was here. But no, it's great, but it is it hits me every day.
I have a lot of different acquaintances and friends that were a part of those teams in the Majerus eras, and boy, it's a mixed bag, Alex. It's all over the place with how these guys feel about their time. How do you feel about your overall time at the University of Utah under Coach Majerus?
You know what? I couldn't have asked for anything more, to be honest with you. It was I don't think anybody would say that it was easy. You know, Coach Majerus, you could obviously argue the delivery of most things, but you knew where you stand, you got the truth. And and I would say this, I think anybody that spent time with him at the end of the day would agree they were better off because of it.
I've heard from people that you were one of Majerus' favorites. Is that true?
You know what? I had my days. Like everybody else, I faced the wrath, and I think it was it was easy for me to do what I was told as hard as I could.
Yeah.
so I guess it was a little bit easier.
We'll just let you know who the little birdie is. Britton says that you were the favorite child.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, Scotty.
That's all right. I had my own timeouts and my own times in practice where I got it too. I mean, I don't think anybody was immune.
Yeah. All right, so big win last night. You knock off Holy Cross, and a big performance from Terrence Brown. It's still so early in the year, and a new team that you're bringing together. How do you feel like the trajectory in terms of chemistry is where is where you want? Is it where you want it to be, or has it still got a long way to go?
You know what? I think it's getting better. I think it has a long way to go, and it's something I expected coming in because, with a whole new staff and mostly a new roster, it's not going to happen in a month or two or even in a year. And I think, the line I use a lot of the time with me and my staff is like, we came here because we wanted to be here. We had good jobs. And so like the decisions we make aren't to win, next week or the next month, but to get better and build it and hopefully get it back to where it has been for decades, where you're good for a long time.
You talk about that, building it and getting it better and getting it to where it was for decades. I looked at the fan attendance last night, and you think about how tough this season's going to be and some of the conference opponents that are going to show up. And, Coach, I keep thinking, what can we do to fill the Huntsman? Because when that place is full, you played in front of it, that place can be very, very daunting. Is it just as simple as getting back to winning, and they will come?
Yeah, winning's the easy answer. I can remember, when I played here, it's still hard for me to be in there and it not be full. And I can remember football, that was always, 30 years ago. And credit to, Kyle, what Kyle and his predecessors and the people he's done with it, what they built that into. But I remember they said the same thing about football. But you win, that'll fill it. So, yeah, the simple answer is you win. And I think a lot goes into that. I think we had 3 times as many muss in our opener than the year before, and I think a lot of it is, winning, but just bridging, connecting with students, fans, community, and everything through a lot of things off the court.
You spent some time on Rick Majerus' staff. You coached a little bit in college and then made the jump into the pros and now back into the college ranks. How much has the game changed since you were last coaching in the collegiate ranks?
I think the hardest thing is the game's just so much different. I think it's unique. I think it's the last basketball league that has a 20-minute halves and they don't have quarters. I think it's just a completely different game. And, I think the changing of it is, just that obviously the NIL and the portal, like you just have different teams all the time. And, and I don't think anybody does this, but especially I don't want to have a new roster every year. And the fun part about college is having a kid, watching them grow and get better, and then you have some continuity on your team. I think I think that's probably the biggest change, like the NIL, and I think it's going to continue to change. There's so many gray areas, but as soon as they get more guardrails in, I think it could be good. Hopefully they come sooner rather than later.
That's been the big conversation, and I was just in Lubbock calling that BYU Texas Tech game, and I was talking with somebody behind the scenes from Texas Tech, and he said that they've got about $7 million in 6 defenders that they brought over in this last transfer portal, and told me the defenders, and I was going through it, shaking my head thinking, my gosh, that's a lot of money. Alex, back in our day, I played for free, you played for free. Like, we couldn't even take a sandwich from our coaches or from the university. And now it's just so different. And Kyle Whittingham is on record saying that he thinks that the top 25 eventually will reflect the top 25 in NIL payouts. Do you feel kind of similar with that in the world of basketball? Because it feels like money would affect basketball more than it would even football, just with the amount of superstar power that you can get in the world of basketball. But do you think that that's an accurate statement? And do you think we're getting closer to evening this thing out with distributions?
I think. I watched. I think he got asked that again right after this last week, because I heard him say the same thing, and I think Kyle's spot on. In the top 25, there'll be some outliers, but yeah, it's going to reflect the top 25 spenders. And going back to it, there should be some evening out. I don't think it's that difficult to do. The NCAA doesn't necessarily move as quick as other organizations. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think that, you hear coaches all the time in basketball, football, and other sports, right now, even after the settlement, there's more questions than answers. But yeah, definitely, Texas Tech is, I think they have a couple big boosters and, BYU, for instance. But yeah, definitely the top 25 will reflect the top 25 NIL spenders. But I don't think hopefully, I wish we were closer to more of more guardrails and an even playing field than we are. But I think that it's not a terribly difficult path to get closer to it.
So there's players, and in particular, you look at a guy like VJ Edgecombe, who was a really good college player and then just erupts at the NBA level. And people are always like, well, why didn't we see that in college? And it's such a different game with the lack of spacing and the ability to do things, in the collegiate game that you can do in the NBA game. Going from the NBA to the collegiate level, where that spacing collapses quite a bit, how hard is that to you to adjust your mindset as a coach, knowing the restrictions and the freedom of movement that you just don't have at the NBA level?
Oh, you know what? Great question, because I'm still learning. I say a day doesn't go by because the spacing's so different. We'll watch a European game, and in college, and I kind of like it. They don't call as many touch fouls, especially in the Big 12. It's more physical. The spacing is close to non-existent. And speaking of Edgecombe, that's something 30 NBA teams try to do. They try to project a kid that'll translate to the NBA game. And, more times than not, you're wrong. And so, there's kind of a guessing game. There's, certain things you look for, but it's actually been kind of fun. And I think it'll be an ongoing process for me to try to figure out the spacing, because the game, I say it every day, the college game is very different than the NBA game. And there'll be players. It's just like Europe. There'll be a player that's really good in college. His game doesn't translate to the NBA, maybe because of size or shooting or something like that. Same thing going to Europe or not. But in Edgecombe, I haven't seen a lot of him, but I think he's probably a good example. And then there's also the big point of getting drafted in the right team, good timing, and things of that nature. Look at Sam Merrill. You know what?
Yeah.
Be going to Cleveland, going to Cleveland. Perfect team for him at the right time, and it's worked out well for both sides.
Coach, I was going through your roster, and I was actually going through all of our in-state rosters, and I found it really interesting where you go everything from here at the University of Utah. I got everything from Finland to Senegal to Taipei, Washington, D.C. You go to England, Germany, Mali, and you don't see Utah on the roster. And I know you love this state. I know you love the talent in this state. Ideally, how much Utah do you want to recruit? How much Utah are you maybe interested in getting on your roster? And kind of help me through. Like the international recruiting is complete insanity compared to when I was in college or you were in college.
Yeah, and I took the job, and I knew, I finished up in Dallas, and the portal, so the portal is kind of madness, and I do want to recruit the state, and I think any in-state school, if you look back at their success, they've done it with in-state kids. This is going in any sport, going back decades. I think it was one for me. I think learning the space, learning the players. I mean, there's new high schools that I feels like I learn of a new high school or a prep school every day. But we do have Keanu Dawes, who's a local kid, and we have Jackson Johnson and David Katoa coming back from missions. But I think definitely want to get the best players in the state. And I think just with the money, there's a lot of money for players to make and their agents and the in-between people. So I think that's had a lot to do with the explosion from Africa and Europe, because I think there's a huge explosion in Europe, kids that didn't necessarily want to come to college, but when they talk about the money that they could possibly make, it's hard to turn down.
When you look at the landscape of college basketball and where it's at right now and what it's developing into, when you jump in a big way in the best basketball conference in the country, in the Big 12. Have you spent a lot of time really looking at individual teams in the Big 12, or is it just, hey, let's get through game by game and then we'll start game scouting on these guys when they pop up on the schedule?
It's one thing I wish I had more time to do. I've spent as much time as I can, but the Big 12, I would put up. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there's a better conference. Great coaches, very well supported programs, and it's physical. Just looking what Coach Sanders has done at Houston I think it's his 13th year, starting from pretty much scratch. Again, hopefully my goal is at some point where I can spend most of my time doing basketball. But I think building a program, like I talked about, the connection with with the university, the administration, the community. I think it's camps, it's the relationships, getting the right people on staff, and hopefully you get to a place where it runs smooth and I can spend more of my time with that. But I wasn't naive coming into it. I know building a program is like the great Ed Reed said about football, on the field's easy. It's all the stuff off the field. So until you have that stuff in place, it's hard to be successful on the court or field.
Last thing for me, Coach. You've had 3 games. You were talking about learning about this team. Nice win over San Jose State. A good overtime win against Weber State. Then the win against Holy Cross. And you were talking about kind of learning and adjusting and figuring things out. As you've gone through 3 games and getting ready for Sam Houston coming up this weekend, what is the identity of this Runnin Utes team?
Great question. And, I think we before this season, one of our better players, Babacar Faye, got hurt and he's out for the year. So then we changed. We have a fifth-year senior, James Okonkwo, who's missed the first 3 games. And then his first game will be against Sam Houston. So to answer that identity question, I think it'll be an ever-evolving one. But I think we got better in all 3 games. I don't think we played great against Weber, and we were fortunate enough to win. But I think I look back on the history of just basketball in Utah. You go to the Jazz or the Utes, just unheralded players that overachieve, that the fans love. If you play hard, you dive on the floor, and I think the fans here, I would say this if I didn't have this job, they just appreciate that. If you do that, you don't win a championship every year, they'll still come out and support and love you. So I think the identity on it, the team I'm trying to say, is it's not about one person. It's kind of about the group. And I think, that's always a battle to get everybody to buy into that and to play like that. But just a tough team that fans in Utah have, appreciate how the effort they give and that they enjoy watching and makes them proud.
Well, Alex, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time. Good luck. And I know you don't have as good of neighbors as you used to have back in the day, but
I know. Yeah. Ask my wife. Yeah. That's a whole other story. We'll have to do that another time. We got a good story
for sure.
We got a lot to get to, Coach. We really do appreciate your time. Seriously, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day.
No problem, guys. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
You got it. There he is, Alex Jensen, head coach of the University of Utah.
Yeah, this is going to be an ever-evolving roster and team. And you can tell that the Utah fan base isn't overly happy with an overtime win against Weber State and isn't overly happy with the Holy Cross win. They've had 3 home games. You got another 4 home games in a row before you go to Cal. Cal is going to be your first, real big test. And that's going to be interesting. But I don't know, Scotty, short of winning, I don't know if there's anything you can do to build a fan base.
No, and that's what it is. It's what it is. And he's right. Like when he was at the University of Utah, it was a basketball school and football was an afterthought. Now, Ron McBride was building it up, and there were certainly some good years.
Yeah.
But when you thought of the University of Utah, you thought of basketball.
Basketball.
You thought of Rick Majerus and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's all about football. Well, what did football do? Well, Urban Meyer came in. They won. They went to the BCS, and now they've had, how many consecutive sellouts? I mean, they're just killing it up there. It's,
it's a beast.
It's you follow the wins, and he knows it. And I think that one thing about Alex Jensen and, getting to know him over the last few years and getting to know his family, he is going to be very community-driven. Like, he is going to do all the outreach, all the things that you need to do with the dog and pony shows to get the fan base excited.
Collectives.
And he'll do that. But ultimately, and he's right, it's going to come down to wins and losses. And I have no doubt whatsoever that Alex Jensen will deliver it. Is it going to be a process? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. He knows that. But also, I think that if you're a Ute fan, that program's in really good hands right now.
I agree.
Now, I'm a little biased. I know Alex a little bit, and so I'll be more than happy to admit that.
He's the type of guy you want to see succeed.
Although he did bail on my neighborhood, and that bothers me a little bit.
Did he bail or was he run out?
No, he was not run out.
Okay. The HOA didn't push him out?
No.
He wasn't raising chickens? He wasn't shooting the deer?
No. If he would have shot the deer, it would have even been a harder thing had he left. All right. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougars return home for a battle against TCU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans, is it a Jazz Ticket Tuesday or is it a Win Ticket Wednesday?
It's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. But you can make it whatever you want.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the three. He hits. Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jazz Ticket Tuesday, not Win Ticket Wednesday. No, not BYU Preview Show today either. It's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Call number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. And you'll win a pair of tickets to see the Jazz and the Atlanta Hawks on Thursday at the Delta Center.
Do you agree with that NIL can be more effective in basketball than football?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and frankly, there's a lot of programs out there that are spending more on their basketball team than they are their football team. And especially if you look at the G5 level, and I've mentioned this a couple times, there's places like Nevada, UNLV, New Mexico, some of these schools that are like, okay, we've got some money. Where can we get the better ROI? 15 guys on basketball or 100 guys in football. And they're going to go, no, let's go all in on basketball. And there are a lot of programs out there that are saying, okay, let's spend, like, there was a team that I want to say, who is it? All right, well, I won't tell you who it is, but it's a lower to mid-level West Coast Conference team. Not Gonzaga, not St. Mary's.
Okay.
And they've got a $5 million roster.
Wow. Mid-level.
Mid-level.
Jeez. $5 million.
$5 million.
And they're losing Gonzaga, too. The West Coast Conference is going to be interesting when they lose Gonzaga.
And I think
it's going to float into obscurity.
There's some smoke out there that St. Mary's might be on their way out, too. I have not confirmed that. But
to the new Pac-12? Or
or somewhere else. But that's the school that's spending $5 million on their roster.
That's a big chunk of change, so you better compete with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, $5 million is still a huge amount of money to a college basketball program. When we were talking to Alex Jensen, I was talking to an individual about those 6 players on the Texas Tech defense alone. 6 transfer players, they're talking about $7 million for 6 of them. And look at the difference it's made.
Yeah, and that's not including what they probably already had to pay for Rodriguez, who was already there on the team.
Just to retain him. Yeah, just to retain him. Probably big money. But look at what it's done for Texas Tech. Look at the future for Texas Tech. Now the recruiting and NIL and people moving in. You know, I feel like Texas Tech could be potent for a long time. They could be a really good team for a long time. You know, I just saw the breaking news this morning. Did you see the G League center, Abdul Ahmed, committed to BYU?
Yep.
He's a G League player. He's 22 years old. He's been cleared by the NCAA and is expected to have between 2 and 3 years of eligibility remaining. And he took Kevin Young and BYU over teams like Houston and others. And he's going to be coming to BYU.
Yeah, because he can make more money.
He was a G Leaguer attached to the New York Knicks, and he's leaving the G League to come back into college. I don't know what that money looks like. G League does not pay well.
No, G League is miserable.
But the development in the G League is said to be better and more acquainted to the NBA game. So most people would tell you, no, you go G League because G League will then prepare you and you'll be a better prospect. Well, he's looking at it like, well, if I go play with A.J. DeBonsa, if he's back, which he won't be, but if I go play with another grip of guys that are big-time recruits, I probably get more recognized as a college basketball player than potentially G Leaguer.
Mm-hmm.
Or is he saying to himself, I'm probably not an NBA guy, so let me just go jump into this. I'll go make money in college and then see what the European game wants me.
I think that could be 100% it, because these guys are making next to nothing in the G League. Maybe your top-end guys that aren't affiliated with the team and are not on a two-way contract are making, $70,000 to $100,000, if that. And then you've got, and then you can go to college and you can make $750,000, or who knows how much, BYU would spend for a guy like this. And he's thinking, okay, you know what? Better. People are going to see me. I'll get better exposure. Mm-hmm. If BYU makes a run into the NCAA tournament, let's say they go to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, that's going to put a lot of eyeballs on you. and give you a lot of attention. And then if it does go away, guess what? You're a lot richer, and then you can transition into Europe and go make some money over there. It's a win-win. Really, it is.
It does make me wonder, what type of financial opportunity there is for Abdul Ahmed to leave the G League and come to BYU. I mean, it's got to be fairly significant.
Oh, yeah.
Close, I would imagine close to 7 figures.
I don't know, but that would seem to be probably in the ballpark that I would have guessed.
And you would think that'd be realistic, but
yeah.
but maybe I'm way off. Maybe it's 300, maybe it's 400, because the G League it just doesn't pay.
No.
If you can get yourself on a 2-way contract, then you start to make a little bit of money, and maybe you do get the opportunity, but he is going to get exposure, and he'll get development from Kevin Young. I do think that's one thing that BYU has going for them is these borderline NBA players are like, well, let me get as close to the NBA as I can. And Kevin Young was one of the biggest names in the NBA that it was non-head coach, currently in the NCAA ranks, and they feel like they can get that NBA development.
And, and that's why I think Utah going with Alex Jensen can be very helpful there too, because all of a sudden if Alex Jensen goes to a big man and says, hey, I want you to come to Utah, and they're like, well, can I develop? And he's like, all right, well, let me call this guy named Rudy Gobert. And Rudy, who is still very tight with Alex and his family, would be more than happy to say, I'm where I'm at and I'm making the money that I'm making because of Alex Jensen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of big men out there in the league that can say that.
Yeah, because anybody that thinks that Rudy Gobert was a shoo-in, that he was a for sure, you're out of your minds.
Dude went 27th.
Took a long time to develop. And even in a first round and even in a couple of years, it was still like, who's this lengthy, non-athletic gumbo?
Oh, yeah.
Who is this guy?
Yep.
Or Gumby, the stretchy guy.
Oh, yeah.
Who is that guy?
Shrimp gumbo.
But I did have a conversation. This, just to the point of college players being paid. I had a conversation with somebody that was talking about a college player here in the state that is making a lot of money and was kind of an NFL projected player. And it's not as sure of a draft class, and I'm trying to be careful, of a draft class for second or third or fourth or even fifth or maybe even sixth now. And so this player is now thinking, wait a second, I'm not going to go do the NFL thing. I'm going to stay here in college.
Mm-hmm.
And the college is thinking, wait a second, that kind of wasn't the plan.
We want you to go.
We might need you to move on. And I think that, now we're going to be in some really crazy conversations.
Wow.
There will be players that are going to take massive haircuts.
Yeah.
They are going to have to take a big pay cut because there was all this projection, and then it was like, oh, wait, I want to stick around. It's like, okay, that's fine. Well, let's talk about what that looks like.
Yes, because with the new $21 million, people are going to have to go backwards quite a bit.
Yeah, so there is kind of a restricted number. And by the way, the more I find out about it, you got the 21 in distribution, but you still have the NIL opportunities.
Oh, yeah, no, you can shell game the heck out of this thing.
And, I was talking with an individual about that, and they said, going back old school, back when NCAA came up with this concept of you can't even take a sandwich from a coach. The NCAA had to do that because uncles were giving, $5 million sandwiches to kids.
Yes.
And they would just encapsulate it in, oh, well, I'm paying him for a future project. And the NCAA was like, we can't do any of this anymore. Mm-hmm. I talk about getting a handshake reimbursement for an airport sandwich on a recruiting trip of about $500. That was kind of the first eye-opening moment because the guy sat down, was not an assistant coach, was part of the program, and said, did you purchase anything? Like anything? on your way here or while you were here, and I had bought a sandwich in the airport. It was like, whoa, we've got to make sure that's taken care of, and you're like, well, that's okay. They find a way to build it into this thing. So, yeah, it's a $21 million distribution with NIL attachments. And I know they're saying NIL has to be approved. They've got this approval committee.
Yeah.
For those of you that aren't now familiar. So colleges are now going to be paying out about $21 million to all their athletic programs. They have $21 million total. They have to allocate percentages to different programs. And then they've got an NIL opportunity. You have to submit those opportunities to this committee that says yes or no. Now, you were telling me that there have been some of those that have been denied.
Oh, at first, most of them were. There was an in-state school that had about 95% of their deals rejected. And so they had to go back and rework them and make the language the way it needed to be. They were rejecting them right and left early on because they said, nope, that's not going to work, that's not going to work, that's not going to work. And so they went back and had to change contracts and things like that. And now things on the up and up. But you're right. Cheaters are going to cheat.
They're going to cheat.
Yeah.
And you know what always ends up happening with committees? When they start getting a cut, they get real loose.
Oh, yeah.
Committees and people can always be bought.
Yep.
And you get a major corporation like Apple or major corporation that's like, oh, hey, so you're the committee of approval? So this is how we're going to go moving forward.
Yeah.
Anything that comes onto your table through Apple or anything that comes to your table that's this, yeah, that's going to get approved. I know I'm being a bit of a pessimistic person.
You're right.
And I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
And I am.
It's not pessimist. It's realist.
Yeah. I am an eternal optimist. I love optimism, and I like to see the good in people. It's hard when it comes to money.
Yeah. And Lloyd.
I always see the good in Lloyd. I always see the good in our boy. Always.
Even when he sends us nasty texts in the middle.
Yeah, that was not right.
That was not a nasty text. I'm trying to help out.
If we want to have a Cougar preview show, we can do it.
We can do it, man. We'll do it 2 days.
Don't tell us when and what.
Sure. Let's have it 5 days a week. Why not?
I do like that Scotty's trying to slip in an extra BYU preview.
I know
that's
he
my
is.
boy.
I was like, I wonder if anybody's going to notice this.
Oh, man. Hey, you know what? Sometimes before a procedure, you're heavily medicated. Right here.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. I will say with that conversation with Alex Jensen, and Alex agrees with Kyle, and I think any coach would agree that it is going to continue to reflect who's paying the most money. Somebody on the University of Utah side has to come up big.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I know that it gets tiring. I'm sure the Huntsman family, you're just like, our name is on every building. Like, how much more can we give you? But somebody has to step up.
Yeah, whether it's Huntsman, Heckles, go down the list.
Yeah, somebody's got to step up.
Yep.
Look, Texas Tech had this one former player billionaire stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the oil business. And he said, I'm a multi-billionaire. What's $50 million off the top of my line, whatever.
Yeah.
My top end. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So here's $50 million. Go do the best with it.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's going to trump that. Eventually, 50's not going to cut it. And they're going to come back to him. It's actually 75 this year. Here's 75. I made that in about 2 months off of my interest.
Yeah. Let's go. And I can write it off my taxes.
Utah has to find this guy.
Yeah.
BYU's got him. And I don't even know who it is. I do know that it's not as much Ryan Smith as people think it is.
And that's the thing. Everybody kind of assumes it's Ryan. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Especially on the basketball side.
Nope.
Because I think there's a lot of rules that keep him, because of his NBA ownership, that keep him away from donating to the basketball program.
But the words I was given was, we don't need Ryan Smith's money.
Yeah.
BYU's got money.
Hey, there's a lot of billionaire BYU fans out there.
Utah fans, Utah alum, Utah billionaires, step up, man.
Yeah.
Alex is the right guy. If you get to a point where you're now removing Alex from his duties because of win and loss, understand you lost it. Your fundraisers lost it. That's who lost it, not Alex.
Yeah.
Alex is an amazing coach, great recruiter, great schemer, great developer. If he loses games, that's on you.
Yep.
Not him.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.